was the real daughter who got switched at birth. The day I was brought back to the mansion, Candy fell down the stairs. Her eyes were full of tears. "If you don't like me, just tell me." My parents felt sorry for her and scolded me for being immature. David helped Candy up, saying he only acknowledged her as his sister. I slapped Candy across the face. "I really don't like you." With a sharp tongue, I easily took them all down. I'd planned to split the company shares with zero cost, leaving some for them out of kinship. But since it's like this, don't blame me. When I turned 22, my parents came with a lawyer. The lawyer handed me a pile of investigation materials and told me I was the real daughter. Mom looked at the terrible environment in the room. Her eyes welled up with tears. She was at a loss for words, looking at me. I took the papers, ignoring the tears in her eyes, and took a calm sip of the tea I'd made earlier. The information was quite thorough, so I skimmed through it. The lawyer: "If you have any questions, feel free to ask, I can answer them." I waved it off. "Nothing much, I'll just go pack my things." As I walked towards the bedroom, hand on the doorknob, "No need to pack." Mom was stunned, unsure of what to call me. I heard she'd chosen a name for me during her pregnancy, and if it weren't for that DNA test in front of her, she'd never believe the well-behaved daughter she raised wasn't her own. The stranger before her me was her real daughter, born from her womb. Dad cleared his throat, looking at me dismissively. "You've suffered over the years, child. We've prepared everything at home. Leave the junk here." Suffered? Actually, yes. My adoptive father loved collecting luxury watches. Whenever I traveled to countries like country, he'd make me buy some for him. Declaring those watches was a chore, and one wrong move could get customs involved. My adoptive mom loved wine. She stuffed several villa basements full of it. But she didn't drink it. She just liked playing with it. Picking wine, she was annoyingly picky. Her job made it hard to show her face, so I always had to dress up to help her choose. Thinking about it, I nodded to myself, realizing I truly had suffered over the years. I tried turning the doorknob, pushed, and pulled it, but it wouldn't budge. Laughing awkwardly as I held back my anger, "Haha, since you've prepared everything, I guess I won't need to take my things." Seeing how I still kept my composure after all I had been through, Dad frowned but said nothing. The Rolls-Royce Phantom drove into the villa district, unique architecture and elegant moldings. I was stunned by the sight of the villa as I got out of the car. My mom saw my reaction and smiled, standing proudly, instantly radiating a sense of superiority. "This will be your home." Oh, this decor was so tacky. The glaring carved designs wouldn't have made it into our home 10 years ago. It was a taste I didn't quite get. Mom's face was full of pride as she led me inside. In the living room, two people sat, a man and a woman. The woman seemed to be my age, eyes red from crying. Seeing me, Candy clutched David's hand tightly. David glanced at me, then turned, smiling gently at Candy, softly patting her hand, reassuring her. Mom saw Candy's red eyes and felt heartbroken. I noticed my parents' care for the fake daughter, feeling nothing inside. "David, your brother, is 3 years older than you. Candy is around your age. You can call her sister. In a few days, I'll take you to change your last name." I found the name Lucy pretty nice, and had no intention to change it. "You're part of this family now, why have a different last name?" My gaze fell on Candy. Others could share my adoptive parents' last name, why couldn't I do the same? Candy bit her lip, feeling wronged as she was called out. Dad, displeased, took a deep breath. "Grew up outside, naturally short-sighted. Since you insist, let's leave it." Mom frowned, not happy with the tension between us. On one side was her biological daughter, on the other, the daughter she raised for 20 years. She couldn't abandon either, so she tried to ease the tension. "Candy, take Lucy to familiarize herself with her room. If there's anything missing, come tell me." Candy led me to the second floor. We skipped the nearby stairs and took the far ones. Quite a choice. I didn't think much, just assumed it was the ugly villa's unique design. The family was highly ranked nationally. To gain something here, I would really need to use who I was wisely. While I pondered, Candy gritted her teeth, her anger rising, fists clenching tighter. She turned quickly and gave me a hard shove. I instinctively dodged too soon. Had she pushed me down, I could have played the victim, seizing the chance. Wait, how do you pull off looking pitiful? Never in my life had I played the pitiful role. I've never shed a single tear. How do you play pitiful without tears? Candy missed, losing her balance with a surprised gasp. Her eyes widened with shock. With a thud, she suddenly fell down the stairs. Hearing the noise, everyone rushed over. Seeing Candy on the ground, they crowded around in a panic. Candy's eyebrows rose slightly, a fleeting triumphant smile on her lips. I clearly saw her smugness. She was trying to frame me. David helped her, gently asked, "What happened? How'd you fall? Are you hurt, Candy?" Dad sternly looked up the stairs. "Lucy, what is going on? If I said I didn't push her, would anyone believe me?" Before I could speak, Candy, eyes brimming with tears, spoke through her sobs. "If you don't like me, just say so. Why push me? I know you've struggled outside, finally back home. Of course Mom and Dad will love you. So why reject me?" Candy whimpered, full of grievance. I silently watched, not saying a word. Quite the dramatic scene. But her acting was terrible, and she mumbled her words. "I only recognize you, Candy, as my sister. As for any other random people, I won't bother with them." As Candy sobbed, Mom's eyes welled up with tears, anger bubbling up inside her. Her gaze toward me grew colder. "Lucy, I thought living at the bottom would just make you a bit shabby, but I didn't expect your heart to be corroded by the cunning ways of the poor." Dad stood beside them, commanding respect without a hint of anger. "Candy is your sister. No matter what, you shouldn't have pushed her. Apologize to her now." David glared at the woman on the stairs, his tone carrying a hint of anger. "Get down here and apologize to Candy. Sentencing me without even giving me a chance to explain, huh? But it's fine. I've got a mouth to speak for myself." I curled my lips into a sarcastic smile and strode up to Candy. Candy smirked, full of smugness and sarcasm. As if to say, "So what if we're blood related? Mom and Dad still love me the most." Smack! I slapped her right across the face. Playing the victim really doesn't suit someone with my temper. Indeed, I don't like you. Turns out, no one can refuse a straightforward slap. Everyone was shocked. If I wanted to bully you, I could just hit you like this. Why would I bother pushing you down the stairs? That's totally unnecessary. I can responsibly say that I didn't push her. Whether you choose to believe it or not is up to you. Full force, no holding back. Candy was left dumbfounded, clutching her burning cheek. "You hit me? My parents have never hit me." I beamed my pleasure. David was furious. "Lucy, don't take it too far, thinking you're all that." Dad's face was stone cold, so rude and unreasonable. "I regret bringing you back. Seems like everyone's lining up to get scolded. Did you know you all resemble Shakespeare a bit? Like shabbier." Mom, the first to snap out of it, lost her temper completely when I slapped Candy, pointing at me with blazing eyes. "You uncultured thing. Is the water in your brain meant to irrigate the tree in your heart?" "Oops, my bad, I mistook you for humans." Furious, Dad shouted, "Get out, just get out. Which page of the classic of mountains and seas are you from? Butler, butler, throw her out." "Oh, can't win in a fight, so you're resorting to tossing me out?" The butler and a few black-suited bodyguards stepped in front of me. "Lucy, please leave. If I knew the family was like this, I wouldn't have come." The sound of a cane tapping echoed from the doorway. "Hold on. Is this really your place to ask that? Really? Is this my home? It doesn't seem like it." Dad, why are you here?" The old man entered, tapping his cane on the floor. "Humph. If I didn't come, were you planning to kick your own daughter out?" "Dad, it's not like I want to force her out. This girl is wild, disobedient with a violent streak. Not only did she push Candy on the stairs, but she also hit Candy in front of us. Look at the slap marks on Candy's face. Candy covered her face." "Grandpa, wait, let me clarify. I didn't push her, she fell on her own." David rolled his eyes at Lucy. "Ha, a pack of lies. Our Candy wouldn't lie to frame you. Do you have proof?" Huffed. I couldn't hold back a laugh. "He who asserts must prove. She claims I pushed her. Does she have proof? If not, that's false accusation. You know there's no surveillance on that staircase and no evidence, so you think you can get away with it? Mix your brains well before talking to me. Today is my first day in this house. How would I know where there's surveillance or not? Plus, she led me here. choosing this staircase over the closer one? Candy's intentions are crystal clear. With that said, everyone's attention turned to Candy. Candy, feeling guilty, said, "This staircase is closest to your room. Don't slander me." The old man, seeing through everything, pondered for a moment. No point arguing over it. The child is just playful. Teach her well. She carries our blood. I won't allow her to be thrown out. Candy gritted her teeth, "But Grandpa." The old man gave Candy a look, and she immediately went silent. "Dad, she's beyond hope. Enough, let's drop this subject. No one is to bring it up again." The old man, leaning on his cane, walked over to me. His face bore the marks of time, yet his eyes were earnest. "Good child. This will be your home from now on. If anyone bullies you, tell Grandpa. Grandpa may be old, but won't let you be bullied." I smiled politely, taking a step back. "Grandpa, you may have misunderstood. I never said I wanted to stay." Hearing this, Candy was secretly delighted, thinking I was an idiot for giving up. David was suddenly furious. "Lucy, you're ungrateful. Grandpa asked you to stay. What, is your granddad the emperor? I can't refuse? What a joke. Ungrateful daughter." The environment got noisy. "Stop arguing." Suddenly, the old man's face turned pale, grabbing his shirt over his chest. The next second he collapsed. Everyone gasped. "Grandpa! Dad!" The old man passed out and was rushed to the hospital. A crowd gathered outside the emergency room, consumed with worry. The attending doctor came out, and everyone, except for Lucy, gathered around. I had no real feelings for this relative I had only met once, even if he was now in the emergency room. I mainly followed for peace of mind, worried that his old age might mean he wouldn't pull through. The old man's condition was bad. Without surgery now, I'm afraid. Then what are we waiting for? Do it now. The old man's heart is complex with 4 deformities. We only have a 10% chance. Only a 10% chance? Actually less than that, but... Everyone was silent, only sighing. Less than 10%. It's probably going to fail. But there's still a glimmer of hope. Dad slipped a bank card to the attending doctor, trying to be discreet. I glanced at the bright security camera on the wall. Isn't this a bit too obvious? But what? The attending doctor handed the bank card back to Dad. "Sir, your father's condition is complicated. If only Dr. Carrie were around, we'd have a 60% chance. But unfortunately Dr. Carrie hasn't practiced for 10 years and rarely performs surgeries now. Carrie was legendary in cardiothoracic surgery." Carrie? Leaning against the wall, I was taken aback. Dad was silent. He had heard of Carrie years ago. He tried to find him for Grandpa's surgery, but had no luck. "It seems Grandpa." I quietly took out my phone, dropped a location pin, and fired off a few messages. ASAP. "Who's getting surgery? From a family perspective, it's my grandpa. On my way." Carrie rushed in, having been briefed by the attending doctor, and quickly commenced the operation. Outside the OR, silence reigned, stretching time thin. Candy suddenly cupped her face and sobbed softly. "It's all my fault. If I hadn't been mixed up at birth, none of this would have happened." David held her tight, offering comfort. "Candy, it's not your fault." Grandpa's heart condition flared up because of Lucy's outrageous behavior. She upset him. I suddenly felt several hateful glares. I rolled my eyes and flipped them the bird. "This is a hospital. Shut your filth-spewing mouths before I curse you out." David quieted down, while pain flitted across Candy's face. Night fell, with Carrie and a team of doctors finally emerging from the OR. The attending doctor outlined a few precautions, especially stressing a calm environment for the patient. Dad gave a sardonic chuckle. They couldn't find Carrie before, but suddenly show up now? Just trying to make a buck, no doubt. "Doctor, I hope you'll continue caring for my dad. I'll make sure to pay handsomely. How about becoming our family doctor for $500,000 a year?" Carrie ignored him but glanced at me. I avoided her gaze. She muttered something before leaving. Carrie has always been someone with a temper, used to be, still is. She's always struck me as someone who doesn't mince words. That's why I could freely message her to come save Grandpa. The atmosphere got awkward. Other doctors tried to lighten the mood, saying Carrie is quirky. They gave my dad a card number, telling him to wire the $300,000 for the surgery, They'd handle follow-ups. After Carrie left, Dad took a deep breath and muttered, "Women, always putting on airs." Grandpa woke up and insisted I stay home. Others reluctantly agreed. I had no choice but to comply, worried he'd get upset if I refused. Living here, everyone avoided me like the plague. Candy tried a few sneaky moves, but I retaliated so fiercely she didn't dare mess with me again. When Grandpa got discharged, we celebrated with a party at home. A grandiose gala, teeming with elites, lights dazzling the place. Thanks everyone for attending. I'm honored. Grandpa publicly announced I was the real granddaughter, gifting me 3% of his shares as compensation for the years lost. Gasps swept across the room. The rich heiresses chatting with Candy now looked at her differently. Candy bit her lip, gripping her hand tightly, her nails digging in. Candy's a fake. What about the engagement? The engagement's one-sided. I doubt the other party's keen. Things are about to get interesting. The pyramid of wealth intertwines interests, and the other party is undoubtedly at the top. A man in a black suit arrived late, a mischievous smile on his face. Dad went to greet him. "Uncle, you're too gracious." Though I didn't come bearing good news today. I'm here primarily to break off the engagement. I was just declared the real granddaughter, and Nolan immediately wants to end the betrothal. It's clear he doesn't want to marry the just returned me, but it might not be a bad thing for me. We can work something out. Nolan, hands in his pockets, interrupted. There's a misunderstanding. I'm not here to discuss but to inform you. Rich heiresses huddled, whispering amongst themselves. Candy stood among them, sporting a grin. To onlookers, my prior fiancé, now breaking off after I was recognized as the legitimate heir, made me the second laughingstock. Candy murmured to herself, if Nolan and I marry, our family ties remain, rendering my parents more partial to me, and even Grandpa would have to take me seriously. With that thought, Candy left the party. Feeling good, Nolan grabbed a glass of red wine and drank it all. Suddenly, a familiar figure caught his eye. Watching Nolan turn to leave, No make a hasty retreat. Why's this guy here? Nolan saw Lucy and frowned. What's she doing here? Donning a white button-up, she arrived at the villa, loosening 2 buttons to reveal lacy undergarments. A cool breeze brought a slight chill. Ding dong. Candy stood at the door, her voice sultry. Nolan, it's me, open up. The door swung open, and Candy leapt towards a figure inside. Nolan, I like you. I'd do anything for you. The figure sidestepped, leaving Candy gripping thin air. Candy turned, and was shocked to find herself facing a woman. Lucy, what are you doing here? Why'd she dress like this? I gave a knowing look. Lil bro, seems like she's here for you. Nolan poked his head from the kitchen. Who? I don't know her. She might want Nathan or something. Candy froze, taken aback. Nathan. 5 years ago, the legend who saved the company from the brink of bankruptcy, and Nolan's uncle. What's he doing here? He paused while cracking walnuts, a glimmer of annoyance in his dark eyes. Nolan, I wouldn't mind sending you back to my sister tomorrow. Nolan slid over dramatically, saying, no, come on, I was wrong. I just rubbed my forehead, couldn't really bear to watch. Nathan got up and kicked Nolan away. Lucy, come over and eat the walnuts, I cracked them all for you. Got it. Candy looked shocked, probably couldn't believe her eyes. I bet she's thinking, who the heck is this guy? How does he know Nathan? Was everything we found out about him fake? Yep, it was fake. Except for the real blood relation, everything else was staged by me, fed to them through someone else. So miss, do you have any business here? If not, please leave. We need to go out for dinner. Nathan asked her to leave. Candy ran out in a hurry. As soon as she left, I slammed the door shut. You little rascal, I teased Nathan while munching on a walnut, giving him a knowing look. Nathan understood instantly. After some playful interrogation, Nolan admitted. Turns out he barely knew Candy. They just played house once when they were kids. Nathan poured me a cup of warm water. Are you going home tonight? After seeing this, she'll definitely suspect something about you. Nolan, clearly frustrated, complained. Is that my fault? Blame it on my fame. I sipped the water. Yeah, I'm going back. Why wouldn't I? I glanced at the gloomy sky. It felt strangely melancholic. I wonder what Candy will say when she gets back. Kind of curious about her version of the story. David came back to the villa and ran into me. Looking furious, he shouted, "Lucy, how dare you come back? What's happening?" Ever since Dad had heart surgery, David's been avoiding me, hasn't started any drama. No yelling. You're heartless. Candy's in the hospital because of you, yet you're happy about it? So what if she's hospitalized? What's that got to do with me? Looks like you're not quite right in the head either. Might want to get that checked. Candy tried to kill herself because of you. If it weren't for the timely rescue, she might. Wait, hold up. Why would Candy try to kill herself? Isn't she supposed to wait for a showdown with me? From your tone, anyone would think I actually killed her. How's her suicide got anything to do with me? I didn't do it. Does David even have a brain, getting mad at me for this? David was furious at my straightforward attitude, gritting his teeth, struggling to hold back his anger. There's no point reasoning with you. Candy needs to recuperate at home. You should move out. We've got a place in the western area. I cut him off. Nope, not gonna happen. Her needing rest and recovery isn't my problem. I'm dealing with some internal heat and a bad temper myself, you know. David's temper flared up instantly. It's not up to you. Butler, throw Lucy's stuff out. I frowned. Since when does this house only listen to you? The butler, who just came in, paused in his tracks upon hearing this. Is he really kicking me out? We're siblings from the same parents. What makes him so superior? Honestly, I've been staying here for over a month. Initially, I thought David was just pretending to be dumb. Pretending to be weak is a common business strategy. Turned out he genuinely is. I did some digging before coming here. Straight out of college, he joined the company, and 4 or 5 years later, he's still just an assistant manager. I mean, even a cow given such resources would climb higher, yet he just can't. He was smirking like he's been waiting for this moment forever. Mom and Dad specifically told me when I returned from the hospital, if you refuse to move, throw you out. And don't even think about complaining to Grandpa. He's already left the country. I stood there for a moment, trying to process what David just said. Hearing it was Mom and Dad's orders, the butler, ever the loyal employee, went upstairs to pack. Shortly after, he came down with 2 suitcases. As soon as the door closed behind him, I realized what just happened. My biological parents just kicked me out over their adopted daughter's attempted suicide. Thunder rumbled as I left my bags behind and walked out of the villa empty-handed. Those bags didn't matter to me anyway. Soon rain started pouring. I found shelter under an eave, the heavy rain adding a gloomy weight to the air. Amidst the oppressive atmosphere, my heart was oddly thrilled, out of place with it all. Thinking about familial bonds, I once considered $0 shopping, leaving them some. But now no more Mr. Nice Guy. A Porsche turned the corner, stopping in front of me. I quickly got in. Nathan handed me a thermos while driving. Have some hot water, warm yourself up. Aren't you gonna ask what happened? I've got about 70% of it figured out. But I know you. If you want to talk, I don't need to ask first. I took a sip. Take a guess. Candy's stirring up trouble again, making a big scene. Your bio parents kicked you out because of her. Nathan was spot on as usual. I stayed silent, gazing at the passing scenery. With years of knowing each other, we've got this unspoken understanding. When I don't speak, it means he's right. Your folks are coming back tomorrow. What's your plan? How come they're suddenly coming back? And I'm not the first to know. Nathan got the news before me. Is he trying to take my place or something? I had a bad feeling. Time to put my plans on hold. At the airport, a woman in black tight clothes, with her cap pulled low, exuding a don't mess with me vibe, made people step aside. Following her was a man in a blue-green suit. His stern expression screamed trouble. I waved. Dad, Mom. Sweetie, you've lost weight. Come home and have some of Mom's special, limited edition wine to fill up. I'm at a loss for words. Dad got you a watch from abroad. Then he started explaining it in detail. Who even wanted that watch in the first place? Uncle and Auntie. Let me get the luggage, Nathan said, with a subtle smile as he quickly took it all. Dad's face turned sour the moment he saw him. I nudged Dad, frowning and looking all innocent and distressed. Dad sighed, his tone softening. It's really kind of you to come with Lucy to pick us up, he said. Nathan played it cool. Oh, it's no trouble. Really, just a spur-of-the-moment thing. Our family's got a whole fleet of drivers. Except they all magically had other commitments at the same time. You know, it was Nathan behind it with just a thought. Mom was sitting on the sofa, one leg over another. Go on, spill it, she said. Playing innocent, I asked, spill what? Mom slapped the coffee table. Her face was a mystery. You seriously thought just because we were in country we wouldn't know what you're up to? All those tricks you're trying are things we left behind ages ago. I leaned into Mom, acting playful. But Mom, didn't I learn that from Dad? Minimizing costs, maximizing benefits, right? I just chose the path that seemed easiest. Dad, watching from the sidelines, got a bit anxious when I dragged him into this. Honey, don't listen to her babbling. I never taught her any of that. Since I can remember, Mom and Dad told me I wasn't their biological daughter. My foster parents, who found me, raised me like a pet in their home, and never checked my background, because they felt it wasn't necessary. They believed whatever they found was theirs, and wouldn't return me even if they discovered whose kid I was. Growing up, I adopted the same philosophy. I saw no point in searching for my birth parents. A half-year back, tired of living under the family's protection, I wanted to challenge myself in the country on my own. So I sneaked back home. I had an eye on a piece of land for a resort, but someone beat me to it. My resort plan tanked. So the best way to get it was to bankrupt them, and then buy the land at a steal. Know your enemy to win every battle, right? While looking into their background, it turns out I'm their biological daughter. Finding out there's just a clueless older brother and a fake heiress at home, I started planning. Not many can resist a free lunch, me included. A real hunter often looks like its prey. I fed information through others, faked my background, and rented a shabby place. Thought I'd rely on my usual naivete, play the pitiful card, and successfully join the company. But I overestimated myself. I'm too hot-tempered to act pitiful. Mom exhaled harshly, her look lethal. Sweetie, no need to complicate things, she offered. Dad agreed. Yeah, Lucy, you can always count on me. I mean, our major business is abroad. But these small companies here are peanuts. I'm grown and independent now, Mom. I can handle it. As I geared up to decline, Mom cut me off. Waving a hand, Mom said, too bothersome, all of you. Sweetheart, need me to take them out quietly? They're no good anyway. Mom, let's not fall back into old habits, okay? I've got this. Can't have the free lunch? There's still the bought lunch, right? In a few weeks, the projects they eyed were snatched up, competing companies dropped prices, and they slowly lost their domestic market. News about financial woes surfaced nonstop. They struggled to suppress trending topics, and the funding lines started crumbling. By month end, debts mounted, shares plummeted, crashing to record lows, and the group was on the brink of bankruptcy. The company's HQ was lit up all night in a desperate recovery attempt. Amidst all this, Candy surprisingly reached out to meet me. Inside the private room, Candy, long gone her usual flair, looked at me with weary, hateful eyes. You did this, didn't you? Snagged those projects out from under them. Why? Why would you do this? They're your parents. The firm's their lifetime dedication. How could you betray them this way? I chuckled, swirling my wine glass. Candy had caught me with Nathan before, so it wasn't shocking she suspected me behind the company's downfall. She had an ounce of wit, yet what she said was downright laughable. Why? When they kicked me out, did they remember I was their blood? When they stood by you scolding me, did they think of me as their daughter? In business, it's all about interest, no room for family ties. You can talk all you want, Lucy. You're doing this because Dad and Mom love me more, right? You're just jealous. How foolish. With the company on the verge of collapsing, she's still obsessing over that non-existent love. I put my glass down and leaned closer, snatching and smashing her phone on the floor. Display showed it was recording. Ah, what are you doing? The phone lay shattered. Just to be sure, I stomped on it a couple more times. Candy, did you want me to confess I'm the one pulling the strings? Even if they know it's me, what can you do when you're falling apart? Candy's nails dug into her palm. I want them to see how vile you are. To loathe you even more, curse your name. From our first meeting, Candy was always hostile. From the get-go, she and I were at war over resources. But what we were after differed. I was gunning for the cash and the empire. Candy wanted love. I kicked aside her shattered phone, and gave her a tilted, mischievous grin. They hate me, even despise me. And honestly, I couldn't care less. I've got way more now. They sold their villas trying to save themselves, but it was just a drop in the bucket. The company was on the brink of bankruptcy, and that's when I stepped in to take over. The day I took charge, I ran into my father. Literally bumped into him. He watched as the guy from the acquired company called me chairman. Suddenly, it all clicked for him. His beaten-down look changed, and he marched toward the office like a man with a mission. "Sir, you can't go in there. It's not yours anymore. Please leave," said one of the workers, trying to stop him. "Get in my way again, and I'll have my daughter fire you," he barked confidently. I cut in cold as ice, let him in. The company was already mine. I didn't even have to show up today, but I wanted him to see me. Wanted him to know. Dad had this phony smile, trying to play the kind father. It was truly sickening. "Lucy, you're too young. The business world is tough. How about letting me manage the company?" he suggested. "Wow, you've got some nerve," I shot back, "calling yourself my father when you did nothing. I'm your dad." "This was mine to begin with," he protested. I got up from my chair. "Yours? I paid for it. How does it become yours?" he continued without me. I cut him off mid-sentence. "Oh, so now you remember you're my dad? Where were you when it mattered?" "You little," he raised his hand, ready to slap me. I stepped aside, dodging him. He swore at me for a good while, but I didn't give him a moment of pleasantness. For every insult he hurled, I threw 10 back. By the end, he couldn't respond to me at all. I grew tired of it. His words were getting dull. So I had security escort him out. As I was heading out to sign a contract, something hit the back of my head, and everything went black. When I regained consciousness, I was tied up tightly in an old abandoned building. It seemed like I had been kidnapped. When I was sure there was no one around, I wriggled, trying to loosen the ropes. Then 5 big men, and a worn-out-looking guy walked in. "It's no use, Lucy. Stop struggling," the guy said. I stopped. It was David, but he looked aged, like he'd added 10 years to himself in just a few months. "David, how about we talk it out?" "Let me go first," I suggested. David's voice grew intense. "It took me a lot of effort to bring you here. No way I'm letting you go now." Being tied up, I had no idea if he was armed, so aggravating him wasn't an option. "Come on, let's talk. Whatever you want, I'll see to it that you get it," I said. "Tell your company to prepare 100 million, and all the shares you hold," he demanded. Without a second thought, I nodded, Sure. David tossed me the phone, and I obediently did as he instructed. As soon as I sent the message, he smashed my phone on the ground. It didn't crack. Frustrated, he handed it to one of the guys to be tossed away. I couldn't help but smirk. Quality does have its perks. David turned suddenly, his eyes predatory. "Lucy, do you have any idea what I've been through these past few months?" I stayed silent as he ranted. "I've been shunned, working crazy hours for less than what a single meal used to cost. All thanks to you." He took a step closer, and I noticed a flash of metal, a knife. My hair stood on end, goosebumps rippling across my skin. "Since the message is sent, you're no longer useful. Time to die," he shouted. "Hold on, you haven't even gotten the money yet." I hadn't expected him to want to kill me before anything was finalized. The knife gleamed as it came at me. I twisted away just in time, and it stabbed the wooden chair behind me. It trimmed a few strands of hair, my heart pounding like crazy. "That was close. Pin her down," David ordered his goons. He yanked the knife out and aimed it again. Bam! Someone kicked the door wide open. I looked up, the light casting shadows around the figures stepping in. In that instant, a slender figure dashed in. I felt a wave of calmness. Mom had arrived. She fought fiercely, taking down all 5 men effortlessly. As David tried to make his move, knife in hand, Nathan came in with a flying kick that sent him sprawling. "Lucy, you okay?" Nathan asked, untying me and checking me over. Only when he ensured I was fine did he relax. We gave David and his crew a solid beating to vent our anger, then sent them off to jail. Once they were locked away, I did a background check on their situation. What I found was jaw-dropping. When the company was on the brink of collapse, Dad sold everything he owned to save it. Now they can only live modestly. David took on a job, but couldn't let go of his ego. He often argued with his boss and fought with coworkers. His boss wasn't one to just take it, finding ways to make David's life difficult. Overwhelmed by stress, David turned to gambling and lost everything, even his shorts, racking up a ton of debt. Candy wasn't doing much better. Her parents often blamed her, thinking that if it weren't for her, they'd have me as their daughter and wouldn't be living so tightly. Candy worked outside and didn't find peace at home either. Now that David's in jail, the whole family's pressure is on her, and she's almost unable to breathe under it. A year has passed, and under my strong leadership, the company has risen step by step, gradually needing less of my attention. I finally had some free time. Nathan, where are the wet wipes in the house? In the living room, third drawer. Where's the TV remote? In the small drawer on the second tier of the coffee table. He placed a plate of fruit salad on the coffee table. He sat next to me quietly. I watched TV and casually popped a grape in my mouth. He looked at me, didn't say a word, just reached out to tuck a stray hair behind my ear. I smiled slightly and leaned against him. He naturally leaned his forehead against mine, looking down at me with gentle and doting eyes. These grapes are so sweet. Do you want to try one? Nathan got up to grab a grape, but I pushed him back, grabbing the grape to eat it myself. He stared at me in surprise, like a little rabbit in the woods, with a flicker of disappointment and unnoticed excitement in his eyes. I get such a kick out of teasing him every day. I kissed him with the grape in my mouth. The news was playing on TV. Is this the decline of morality, or the distortion of humanity? A woman deliberately set fire at home, leading to the death of herself and both parents. The end.